Welcome back. In this module, we are going to learn about Excel formulas. Actually, this is where Excel starts doing calculations for us automatically. So, if math has ever been scared to you, as you feel scared doing math, don't worry. Excel will do the thinking for you. What you need to do is for you to tell Excel what to do. And definitely, Excel will do exactly what you ask it to do. So let's begin what a formula is. So in Excel, a formula is actually an instruction that you give and tell Excel to calculate something for you, or what instruction you give to Excel to calculate whatsoever you want it to calculate for you. That's just it. So that's what you need to know about formulas in Excel. Instruction you give to Excel to do your calculation for you. So every formula in Excel must start with an equal sign. This is a very important thing you should do before you start putting up your formula. So for example, you can have something like this: equal to 2 plus 2 plus 2, and you press enter, you have the answer. So you've given it an instruction over here telling it to add up two numbers, which is 2 and 2. So you can as well do it this way. It's another way of writing a formula in Excel: equal to A1 plus B1. So it's not going to calculate for us. I'm just going to let you see how formulas are written in Excel. So those are the two ways you can write a formula. Now, is either you use this method or you use this method. So those are typical examples of how formulas are written in Excel. But the right way to put it is this. So I'll tell you why this is very important for you to use. Okay, now let's go into basic mathematical operators. So here we have some basic operators. Mathematically, this is what we do use. Okay, these are the basic mathematical operators we have. So Excel also uses this. So Excel uses these simple operators. 2, 1. The plus sign does what? Is for addition. The minus sign, sorry, this was meant to be the minus sign, not equal to. So the minus sign there is for subtraction. The asterisk here is for multiplication, and the forward slash here is for division. So these are the simple, or are the basic Excel operators that we have. Okay, let's just have a try. Let's try this simple this basic Excel operators and see how they work. So let's have a simple example and see how it works. So this will be our first formula. We are going to write our first formula. So inside this cell, let me use this, inside this cell, which is cell H10. So inside cell H10, I'm going to click inside a cell H10. Remember, When once you click on a cell, it means that cell is active and ready for data entry. So I choose that cell because that's the cell I want to enter data into. So first of all, start by putting equal sign. If you don't add equal sign before your calculation, that means if you don't type equal sign before your calculation, okay, it means that Excel sees it and treats it as normal text. That means it is a text. So when Excel sees equal sign, it knows that calculation is going to be made. But if Excel does not see equal sign as the first thing, it assumes that that is going to be a text. So that's a text. So Excel sees equal sign as what? A calculation alert. Let me use that word, calculation alert. So you're alerting Excel that calculation is going to be made. So Excel gets ready for me. So that's what it means. So I first of all put my equal sign. Okay, on cell H10, I'm going to type there, for example, 2 plus 2 or 2 plus 3 or thereabout, and I'm going to press enter. You can see the answer is given automatically. So it automatically gives me the answer when I type in the formula with my equal sign as the first thing to enter. So Excel display the answer 5. So now let's use cell reference, which is actually the most important thing, the right way to input a formula or to type formula in Excel or to calculate using formula in Excel. So if you want to have automated answer, you should be using cell reference. So instead of typing number directly, Excel work better with cell reference. That's what you need to know. Excel work better with cell reference instead of this first example we did. It works very better. It works better with cell reference. So for example, on this my table which I had, okay, I had salaries here. So this salary is in column D. So I have salaries here, and I want to calculate the total salary of employees here. So I can do this. So for example, so I'm going to click on this point, this cell, because this way I want my answer to show up. So that's why I'm clicking on that. So on this cell H11, I'm going to type equal to. Remember that when once you put equal to, it alerts Excel of what you are about to do, or the magic you're about to perform. So equal to, can choose to pick this cell. Remember I said if you don't remember how to reference a cell, you can actually use the name box which is here, or better still, you do what? You click on the cell directly. So I'll now add my addition sign and pick the next one. Addition sign, pick the next one. Addition sign, pick the next one. Addition sign and pick the last one. So I can now press the enter. So it automatically gives me the answer there on my cell, that's cell H11. So Excel adds these values automatically. So if you change the value in any of these cell, for example, I change value in cell D2, or change it in cell D2, or I change it in cell D5, or even D6. So any changes I make, Excel will update the results instantly. Okay, not like this one. This one I have, if I want an update of the result, I have to go and then change what I need to change inside the formula. That's, I need to change the value inside the formula. But in this case, using the cell reference while calculating or in your calculation, what you only need to do, just change the value here and the answer will be displayed automatically. So anything changed here actually changed what you have here, because the cells are being linked. And what happens is that when calculating, Excel is taking whatsoever is inside that cell to calculate for you. That's what is happening using cell reference, or how cell reference works. So you see how important it is for you to be using cell reference whenever you are making your calculation. Alright, the next thing is copying of formulas. So let's see how to copy formulas. They call it autofill. So one powerful thing about Excel is copying formulas. That's one powerful thing about Excel. So instead of you having two, for example, you have two data, and let's say you have like 10 records, and you have to calculate for the 10 records. So you can imagine how boring it was here for me to be adding the cells one at a time. Cell D2, cell D3. I'll keep clicking, coming to add my addition sign. I go back to click again. So you see how exhausting, should I call it like that? Exhausting and time wasting it is. So if at all you have something like this, so I'm going to insert another column here so that we could do the simple calculation and see how to copy a formula. So I'm going to click on it, right click, and then use insert. So I've inserted a new column, but the name of the column, let's say I want it to be allowance. Oh, sorry. So I have that on the column. So now I want it to let's say my allowance are, let's say 3,000, just toppings, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, 3,000. Okay, so for example, those my allowance, I want to see the total salary now. So under this column, I want it to be side by side, so I can now okay, let me insert another column for that. So I click on insert, so I can type here total. Okay, so I want it to be side by side, that's why I inserted that column. So let's see how to copy a formula instead of repeating each and every formula in our calculation. So we first of all add our equal sign. So I'll pick this and put my addition sign, and I pick this and I press enter, and although that automatically calculates for me, but let's just assume it weren't there. So all what we need to do is for us to use this handle. We call it autofill handle. This small dot, or this small what do we call it, a small square, okay, at the right corner, okay, of our cell. So I'll just take my cell pointer there and it turns to this, and I'll now double click it. When I double click it, you can see that it is automatically adjusted for each row. So the calculation is made for each row, and if you see it, check it out, the formula here is going to be exactly what it is, so it's correct. So when it gets here, it's just going to add them, just going to adjust the formulas and add them row by rows. So that's how to copy your formula. So since they are the same, since the formula you use is going to be the same as others, so you don't need to be doing them one after the other, repeating them one after the other. Rather, just do for one and then use your fill handle and double click, then you have your formula copied to the rest of your data set. Alright, so after knowing how to copy a formula, let's move into relative cell reference. So coming back to cell reference now, because this is very important as far as Excel is concerned. So you have to know this. Okay, so when copying a formula, let's go back to our total. When we copied the formula, you notice that when we copy down, you notice that Excel actually adjusts the row numbers automatically. So we did this one at first, then we double click our autofill button here, and others happened for us. So if we click on the second outcome, that's the second answer, we see that what Excel did was to actually do this. So as it goes to the next row, it's going to calculate them according to the row numbers to actually give you your correct answer. So this is actually by default. This is how Excel handles cell reference by default, and this is called relative reference. So in a reference whereby, since it is the same formula that you are using, okay, when you copy down, you have it that Excel fills in the rest for you using the same formula, but in turn changing these row numbers for you automatically while filling the formulas for you. Know that that is a relative reference. I repeat, if you copy down the formula that you have and you see that Excel adjusts it, okay, adjust the row numbers automatically as it is calculating it automatically for you, as calculating your answers or calculating your formulas automatically for you, know that that is what a relative reference. So for beginners, this is exactly what you want. For beginners, it's exactly what you want. So in relative reference, when you copy a formula down, you notice that Excel adjusts the row numbers automatically for you. So that's for a relative reference. Now for an absolute cell reference, sometimes you may want Excel to lock a particular cell. so it does not change. You don't want it to be changing the row numbers for your calculation like it did for the relative reference. You don't want it to be changing. When it gets to another one, you see D4 E4, another one D5 E5. You don't want that changing or changes to be made. You want a particular cell to be locked so that it will be used in calculation. A typical example of such thing could be how multiplication table is done. You know that a particular number is used in multiplication for others. For example, 2. If you want to multiply 2, so you have 2 multiplied by 1, 2 multiplied by 2. So you have series of numbers that you are going to multiply 2 by. Don't know if you understand me. You have series of numbers that you multiply 2 by. So in that case, you can use an absolute cell reference, not a relative cell reference, because in a relative cell reference is going to be changing, but in absolute cell reference you are locking 2. 2 is used in calculating for every number series. So you have 2 multiplied by 1, 2 multiplied by 2, 2 multiplied by 3, 2 multiplied by 4, and so on and so forth. So in this case, an absolute reference is used and not a relative reference. So how do you know that this particular reference is an absolute reference or is a relative reference? As you see here, this is just a plain cell reference which changes in time, but in absolute reference it doesn't change. So let's calculate something using an absolute reference. So I'm going to have 6 here. So I want this total, okay, let me use 2. I want this total to be multiplied by 2. Okay, I want this salary, total salary here, to be multiplied by 2. So I'm going to do this here. So I'm going to have equal to, okay, I'm going to have it equal to this. Sorry, it's because it is on a table, that's why you are having that. So let me just call the name of that cell. That cell is F2. So I have F2 asterisk. Remember, asterisk is used for multiplication, so I'll use asterisk there, and then I'm going to pick this cell which is F8. Okay, I'm going to pick this cell which is cell F8. So if I press enter here, I am actually performing a relative reference. But I don't want, remember I said we want to use the total salary here to do what? Multiply what we have here, the money, by 2. So what we are going to do is we are going to lock this cell so that it's going to be using 2 to calculate for everything we have here. So in that case, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to lock this particular cell. So I will have this locked by using what? I'm going to use a $sign for that. So you see a $sign. Now having this means that I'm only locking column F. Okay, I'm only logging column F. I'm not locking column 8. So if I want to lock column F, column 8, which is actually where it is, so I'll have to do what? Add the $sign before F and after F. So this one is for locking for column. If you have 1 here, that's before the cell reference, it means that you are looking for only the column. But if you have after the cell reference as well, you are looking for both the column and the row as well. So if I press enter here, you see that I'm having that. So you see this, is multiplied by 2. You see this is multiplied by 2. Now you can see that in my formula bar, it's only this one that is changing, which is the total. I told you that the total should be multiplied by 2. So only the total is changing. Only the totals are changing. So total in the first cell, which is cell F2, you can see what it has. Okay, million plus. If you go to the next one, you can see it's still using F8. As you can see, it's still using cell F8. Everything has F8. So F8 is being pinned. It's being used in calculation for each and every cell you have on the total, or each and every amount you have on the total column. So that's how to use an absolute reference, and that's how to differentiate an absolute reference from a relative reference. So the dollar sign there locks the row and the column. It locks the row and the column. So in relative reference, we don't have a dollar sign in it, but in absolute reference there is a dollar sign. So if you see a cell reference that contain a dollar sign, know that it is what? It is an absolute reference. But if you see the one without a dollar sign, know it's a relative reference. I hope it's understood. We will really practice this more in our advanced lesson. So the idea was just for you to understand it now. Alright, so we go to common errors. Now I actually behind the scene, I actually input some errors you could possibly see. So you may see errors like this: div or hash div /0. If you see something like this, it means that you are dividing what you are dividing by 0. So if you see what I just did, so behind the scene I divided what I have in D3 by 0. So that's why you are having here this particular error. So if you have this hash value, it actually means that you have a wrong data. So if you have hash value, it means you have wrong data. So you cannot calculate a number by a word. Let's call it a string and a value. You cannot calculate the two. You cannot calculate the text and a number. So I did that here and I have this. So if you have something like that, know that it's just a wrong data type. You've just mixed data type that are not supposed to be mixed together for calculation. That's why you are having this error. So if you see that, you know that that's what it is. Now if you have hash ref, it actually means that you are having invalid cell reference. The cell reference is not valid. That's why you are having hash ref. So these are some common errors that you will see. But if you encounter all this, please don't panic. This is not actually a failure in your calculation or failure in your formula. Rather, Excel is actually telling you something needs correction. So you just have to go in and then make the necessary corrections. Alright, so now let's do our practical exercises. So please, you can pause this video and practice this. So the first thing I would want you to practice is enter salaries in any of the column. Maybe you can have column B. Enter salary in column B. Enter bonus or let's say allowance in column C. Then use a formula to calculate the total pay, which is the total amount. Then after that, you can copy the formula down so that you'll not be doing it one by one. You can have like 10 records. So you can copy down so that you won't have to be calculating one by one. Then change some values and observe the updates if you are going to have automatic updates. Okay, like we said, that if any value is being changed, the result will automatically be updated, so you can change it to see how it works. Then you save your file as well when you are done with it. So you can pause now and then you practice. But for the meantime, in this module, which is module 4, you've learned what formulas are. You've learned how to write a formula. You also learn how to use cell reference, be it an absolute reference or a relative reference. You've learned that. You also learn how to copy formulas and some common Excel errors. So in the next module, we'll move into Excel function like sum, average, which makes calculation even faster than just what we've done now. So see you in our next lesson.
If you find this video helpful, please subscribe to SME Digital Tools Academy for more videos like these. Thank you.